All right, so buckle up, because today we are diving deep, deep into the fascinating world of Feng Shui. And, we've got some really interesting source material to work with today, all from a document that we found called, get this, nuyu.pdf.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's in Chinese.
Okay.
But don't worry, we've got you covered. We're going to unpack some, I think, some really eye-opening ideas about how Feng Shui connects to, like, science, psychology, even, and this is interesting to me, your personal finances.
I love that, it's one thing to just sort of look at the surface level, like do this, don't do that kind of Feng Shui tips. But to actually dig into like the why behind it and like the potential scientific connection.
Yeah, and the philosophy behind it, right? Like what is the actual thinking here?
Absolutely.
So one thing that like really popped out at me when I was reading through the source material was it talks about this open door facing stove problem. Have you ever heard of this?
I have, yeah.
So it's like, imagine if you walk into your house, right? And like, bam, the kitchen is right there. And apparently this is like not great for your wealth. So like, what's the thinking there?
Well, so it all comes back to, this concept of qi.
Right.
Which, some people translate it as energy.
Energy flow.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so good Feng Shui is about encouraging that positive qi to flow freely, whereas bad Feng Shui is kind of like creating these roadblocks. Or that energy, yeah.
So with the like open door facing stove thing, it's almost like the wealth energy is like coming into your house.
Right.
And it's just like whoosh, going straight out the kitchen door.
So like it's rushing through and not having a chance to, circulate.
And settle. So, oh, I see. It's like a leaky bucket or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I get that. So, this idea of qi being like this energy that flows, I always wonder, can that be explained scientifically? Like, is there any, I don't know, like proof? Because the source material talks about some pretty interesting potential connections to, like, things like Kirlian photography. Have you ever heard of that?
Yeah, those pictures, they kind of look like...
They're wild, right?
Yeah, like an aura.
Yeah, so is that, like, proof that qi's real?
Well, so the document is actually... it's pretty cautious about making any, like, definitive statements.
Okay.
Because, Kirlian photography is still, like, pretty controversial.
Right.
And, there's no consensus on whether it's actually capturing qi or some other electromagnetic phenomenon.
Right.
The source also talks about this thing called torsion fields.
Okay.
Which is a kind of like a theoretical concept in physics that could, maybe relate to qi.
I see.
But again, the science it's still very much up for debate.
So it's like, even if we can't fully prove it yet with like hardcore science, there's still this idea that the way energy, whatever that energy is, the way it flows in our environment could like impact us in some way. Speaking of impact, the source also dives into the psychological effects of Feng Shui. Specifically, like when it comes to things like confidence.
Yeah, I find that part really interesting because it suggests that even if the existence of Qi itself is like debatable, right? Yeah. The perception of good or bad energy can still influence our like behavior.
Yeah.
And our well-being.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like, think about it. If you walk into a room, right, and it's like cluttered, messy, you're probably going to feel like more stressed, less confident than if you walk into a room that's like really well-organized and harmonious.
For sure.
Yeah. But is that just like a placebo effect then? Like, if you believe your space has good Feng Shui, maybe you just like act more confident, regardless of whether there's actually any energy shifts happening.
Yeah, it's a good point. Yeah.
And the source actually acknowledges that, it says it's probably a combination of both like tangible environmental factors and our psychological responses to them.
So it's both.
Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, even if it is partially placebo effect, if it leads to like positive outcomes, is that really a bad thing?
Right, exactly.
Yeah, it's like even if it's all in my head, if having a like well-organized desk makes me feel more confident and productive, then like who cares?
Exactly. It's about, the results and being mindful of our environment and how it affects us.
I can get behind that. Okay, so now get this. The source material gets into some like really mind-bending territory. It starts talking about analyzing Feng Shui at the atomic level.
Oh.
I know, right? Like it's talking about how the movement of air molecules could represent like the flow of qi, or how the actual like building materials of our homes could impact the feel of a space. on like a molecular level. Yeah, it's really taking it to like the most fundamental level. It's fascinating.
It's like, whoa. So what do you make of that?
Well, I think, in that part, the source is kind of pushing the boundaries of like traditional Feng Shui.
Okay.
And getting into like speculation. It's like a thought experiment, Yeah, it's like, what if we could analyze, those subtle interactions between our bodies and our environment at that level, like atoms, electrons, light waves. Could we then find, scientific evidence for some of the principles of Feng Shui?
Right.
It's a really cool question.
That's a really good question. Yeah, I like that. All right, so we've talked about like the basics of Feng Shui. We've talked about this, potential science behind Shui. But let's talk about something that I think we're all interested in, money.
Okay, yeah.
So what does the source say about Feng Shui and like attracting wealth?
So this is where I think the personalized insights really come in, because the source, it emphasizes that your success with Feng Shui, especially when it comes to finances, it's really a combination of three things.
Right.
The environment you create, your own actions, and what it calls your treasury.
Treasury, okay.
Yeah, and treasury is a much broader concept than just cash.
All right, so let's unpack that a little bit. So Feng Shui can help create an environment that like supports wealth, but it's not like a magic spell.
Right. You still have to put in the work.
Okay.
You still have to make those, smart financial decisions, cultivate a positive money mindset.
Right.
The best Feng Shui in the world can't overcome a lack of effort.
Right.
Or bad habits.
So it's kind of like Feng Shui provides like the fertile ground, but you still have to like plant the seeds and, water them.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. I like that analogy. And this treasury concept you mentioned. So it's not just about like stuffing cash under the mattress. It's about like your overall relationship with resources and like your sense of abundance.
Yes.
And your ability to like manage and grow what you have.
Exactly.
So it's a mindset thing too.
Absolutely.
Not just a physical space thing.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. So we've got like the basics of Feng Shui. We've got this potential science behind Qia, the connection to wealth.
Yeah.
But now I want to get into some like specific advice for you, our listener. So listener, I know you're a big fan of libraries. In the source we're looking at, it actually addresses this directly. It asks, what is the impact of spending a lot of time in libraries on one's finances?
I love that they ask that, because it really gives like this nuanced perspective.
Yeah.
And analyzes it from multiple angles.
Okay, so let's break those angles down.
All right, so first, from a Feng Shui perspective, libraries can have good qi, but it depends. It depends on their layout, the lighting, and the overall atmosphere.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. There are some libraries that you walk into, and they're like bright and airy and inspiring. And then there are others that are like kind of dark and cramped and just like, ugh, I don't even want to be in here.
Exactly. There's a difference.
Yeah. But even if a library has like good Qia, there's still the issue of time, right? Like the time you spend reading could be time spent like working or making money.
Exactly.
So how do we balance that?
Well, that's where, the psychological and economic perspectives come in, because yes, libraries are great for learning and focus.
Yeah.
But there is an opportunity cost.
Right.
How much is your time worth? And could you be using that time to, generate income?
So it's not just about whether libraries are like good or bad for your finances. It's about how the time you spend there aligns with your like overall goals and priorities.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That makes sense. So it's not just a simple yes or no answer.
Right.
It's more nuanced than that.
Yeah.
And, going back to what we were talking about earlier with analyzing Feng Shui at the atomic level, the source actually applies that to libraries too.
Wow.
I know, right?
Yeah.
So it's talking about things like air quality, lighting, even like the materials used in the building.
Okay.
And how all of those factors could like subtly impact your brain power, your focus, your productivity, which ultimately ties back to your ability to generate income.
It's like this intricate web of connections.
It is.
Between our environment and, our psychology and our well-being. Or
well, it kind of like loops back around.
Yeah, it's all connected.
I'm starting to see Feng Shui everywhere now.
I know, right?
It's like a little freaky.
That's everywhere.
And also like Kind of cool.
It makes you more aware of your surroundings.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so speaking of surroundings, let's dive into another aspect of Feng Shui that the source explores, and that is the impact of floors on our fortune.
Ooh, okay.
So tell me everything. Like, do certain floors have better Feng Shui than others?
So it's not quite as simple as like, good floors, bad floors.
Okay.
It's more about the energy associated with each number and how that connects to the 5 elements.
Right. Okay.
So each number is associated with a specific element. Yeah. Wood, fire, earth, metal, water.
Gotcha.
And these elements, they interact in specific ways, and that can influence the energy of a space.
So it's not just about whether it's like a high floor or a low floor.
Right. It's more nuanced than that.
Okay.
So generally speaking, high floors, they're thought to have more like commanding energy. Right. They give you a wider perspective, a sense of being like above the fray.
Above it all.
Yeah. But they can also feel less grounded. Okay. A little bit more exposed, potentially less stable.
I see.
Lower floors, on the other hand, tend to offer more stability and a sense of like connection to the earth.
Okay.
But they could also feel more stagnant.
Right. The energy isn't flowing well.
Yeah.
So it's like a trade-off. You know, it depends what you're looking for.
Exactly. It's about finding a balance.
Balance, right?
Yeah, between those energies.
Depending on your like individual needs and goals.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then, I mean, there are also just like practical considerations too, right?
Of course.
Like, a high floor with a stunning view might boost your like confidence and creativity.
Yeah.
But if you're terrified of heights.
Right.
Probably not the best choice for you.
Probably not. Yeah.
Okay. So now, listener, you told us your birth date is January 16th, 1971. That makes you a metal dog, right?
Yes.
So this is where things get, like, even more personalized.
Absolutely, because your birth year adds another layer of complexity.
Okay.
Because certain numbers and elements are going to be even more auspicious for you.
Okay.
Given your metal dog energy.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So we've got your job, we've got your personality type, INFJA, Capricorn, and now we've got your birth details. We're like building this custom Feng Shui profile for you.
We are.
It's getting exciting.
Yeah, stay tuned.
Yeah, stay tuned. All right, so welcome back to our deep dive into all things Feng Shui.
Yes, welcome back.
We've laid some pretty fascinating groundwork, I think. We've explored the concept of qi, that energy flow. We've talked about those, like intriguing connections to science and how these Feng Shui principles can be applied to like everything from libraries to finances, right?
Mm-hmm. It's been quite a journey so far.
It has. And, now it's time to get even more personalized. Because, listener, we know you're a metal dog, born in 1971. You're an INFJA and a Capricorn.
Wow, that's quite the unique combination.
It is. And, the source that we're looking at, it actually dives deep into how all of those personal details can influence your Feng Shui journey. So let's unpack what it means to be a metal dog in the world of Feng Shui.
Okay, yeah, let's do that.
All right, so take it away.
So it really all comes back to understanding the energy of the elements and how they interact with each other.
Right.
And so metal, your birth year element, is associated with, precision, organization, a strong sense of justice. Okay. It's about structure, clarity, setting clear boundaries.
That definitely sounds like our listener.
Yeah.
A Capricorn known for their, practicality and strong work ethic.
Absolutely, yeah. Very much aligned with that energy.
Yeah. And then, of course, we have the dog of the Chinese zodiac, which, represents loyalty, honesty, a strong sense of responsibility. Mm-hmm. Dogs are known for their hardworking nature and their dedication to those they care about.
Yes, very loyal.
Very loyal, very true.
Yeah.
So we've got this blend of metal and dog energy, which seems like, like a recipe for success in pretty much any field, right?
Yeah, I would say so.
Especially, one that requires like focus and attention to detail, like software development.
Absolutely. Those qualities would really shine in that kind of work.
Yeah, for sure. But here's where it gets even more nuanced, right?
Right.
Because in Feng Shui, we don't just look at like individual elements in isolation.
Right.
We look at how they interact.
Exactly. It's all about the relationship.
Yeah, the relationship. So, for example, metal is strengthened by earth, which provides like a grounding, stabilizing force.
Yes, very much so.
So incorporating earth elements into your workspace could be like especially beneficial for you, listener.
Absolutely. That would be a great way to support your metal energy.
Okay, so what kind of things are we talking about here? Like, give me some examples.
Okay, so think about like earthy tones, solid furniture made from natural materials, even, crystals or stones that represent the earth element.
Oh, okay. So like I'm picturing like a beautiful wooden desk, maybe with like a piece of raw quartz on top.
I love that. Yeah, that's a great image. It really evokes that earth energy.
Yeah. Okay, so earth is like a friend to metal. What about the other elements? How do they play into this?
So metal can control wood.
Okay.
But wood can also drain metal's energy.
Interesting.
If it becomes too dominant.
So we need to strike a balance with the wood elements, like not too much, not too little.
Exactly. It's all about finding that sweet spot.
Okay, so like maybe a few carefully chosen plants instead of a full-blown jungle in my office.
Right, exactly. You don't want it to feel overwhelming.
Yeah. Okay, what about water and fire? How do those elements interact with metal?
So metal produces water.
Okay.
Which can be beneficial, in moderation. It represents like flow and adaptability, but too much water could put out the fire element.
And we definitely don't want to extinguish the fire.
No, we need a little bit of that fire energy.
Right.
And fire, in turn, can melt metal.
Okay.
So we want to be mindful of, keeping fire elements in check.
Gotcha. So it's like this, I don't know, it's like a delicate dance of elements. We want to support the metal with earth, use wood strategically, and be mindful of water and fire.
Exactly. It's like a little ecosystem.
Yeah, it is. Okay, so, listener, take a look around your workspace. Do you have, like, too much wood? Maybe in the form of, like, an overwhelming number of plants?
Right. That's a good question to ask yourself.
Yeah, or are you lacking in earth elements? Maybe it's time to, like, swap out that metal and glass desk for something a little more, grounding and solid.
Something that feels more connected to nature.
Yeah, exactly. Now, you mentioned earlier this thing called the Minghua, and I have to admit I'm not really familiar with that. What is that exactly?
So the Minghua is a number that's calculated based on your birth date and gender.
Okay.
And it's basically like a personal energy map in Feng Shui.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and it reveals what are called your auspicious directions, which are the directions that are like most favorable for you.
In terms of like attracting good fortune.
Exactly, yeah.
And enhancing different areas of your life.
Yes, it's like having a personalized compass.
A compass, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, pointing you towards success.
I like that.
But unfortunately, we don't have your gender information, listener.
Right.
Which we would need to calculate your precise Minghua.
Okay, so we can't get super specific here.
Right.
But can we still, like, talk about the general principles?
Yeah, absolutely. We can still explore that.
Okay, great.
And just to be clear, Feng Shui is a complex system.
Right.
With many layers of interpretation. And there are different schools of thought, different approaches.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's always best to do your own research,
Okay.
And find what resonates with you personally.
Find what feels right.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's get back to those practical tips. We've talked about floors, we've talked about layout, elements. What about something a little more specific, like desk placement? Like, where should you be sitting in relation to the door, the window?
Yeah.
All that good stuff.
All right, so this is where that commanding position we talked about earlier comes in.
Okay.
So ideally, your desk should be positioned so that you can see the door, but you're not directly in line with it.
Okay, so not facing the door directly,
right?
But also not having your back to it.
Exactly. Yeah, you want to be able to see who's coming and going.
Right.
But you don't want to be in that direct line of fire, so to speak.
Gotcha. So it's about creating a sense of, like, power, but also security.
Yes, exactly.
Like you're in command of your domain, but you're not, like, caught off guard by anything sneaking up behind you.
Right. You're aware of your surroundings.
Makes sense. What about windows?
So having a window to your side can provide natural light,
right,
and a view of the outside world, which can be really beneficial for, creativity and inspiration.
Right, but we don't want to be, like, blinded by the sun all day.
Right, exactly.
Or feel like we're, on display.
Yeah, and we also want to avoid having our back to a window.
Okay.
Because that can create a sense of vulnerability.
Ah, okay, interesting. So ideally we're sitting with, like, a wall behind us, a view to the side, and the door within our line of sight.
That's a great starting point. Yeah.
Okay, I like that. Now, of course, Every office is different. You might need to get creative with your setup.
Right.
But those basic principles can at least kind of like guide you toward a more harmonious and productive workspace.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so you mentioned earlier that metal can control wood, but wood can also drain metal energy. I'm having a little bit of a hard time like visualizing that. What does that imbalance actually look like in a workspace?
Okay, so let me paint a picture for you.
Okay.
Imagine a sleek, modern office with lots of metal and glass. Very metal element, right?
Yeah, sounds stylish.
Yeah, it is. Very chic. But now imagine that the owner of this office has a serious love for plants. We're talking plants on every surface, hanging from the ceiling,
Cool.
maybe even a living wall.
Okay, I'm starting to see the problem. A little too much wood energy.
Exactly. Yeah, while plants can be great, you know, they purify the air, they bring a touch of nature indoors.
Right.
An overabundance of them in this scenario could overwhelm that metal energy and create an imbalance.
So instead of feeling like organized and focused in this office, the person working there might start to feel like stifled or drained or overwhelmed.
Yeah, like the energy is just like too much.
Too much. Yeah. Okay, so what's the solution then? Do we need to like banish all plants from our workspaces?
No, not at all.
Okay.
It's about finding the right balance.
Okay.
So in this scenario, maybe scaling back on the plants a little bit or choosing plants that have a more structured, upright growth habit instead of those that are like really wild and sprawling.
So like a bamboo plant or a snake plant instead of like a trailing pothos.
Exactly. Yeah, those are great examples.
Gotcha.
So it's about choosing plants that complement the metal energy. Rather than compete with it.
Okay, I like that.
Right.
This is making so much sense. It's amazing how Feng Shui takes these like seemingly abstract concepts, like elements and directions, and applies them to create like a more harmonious and supportive environment.
It's really about working with nature's energy to enhance our lives.
Okay, we've talked a lot about like the visual aspects of Feng Shui, you know, the colors, the shapes, the placement of objects. But what about sound? Does the soundscape of our workspace like impact our energy and productivity?
It absolutely does.
Okay, tell me more.
Sound plays a crucial role in Feng Shui. In fact, there's a whole branch of Feng Shui called sound healing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it uses specific sounds and frequencies to balance energy and promote well-being.
Okay, I need to hear more about this. What kind of sounds are we talking about?
So, in a workspace, we generally want to create a soundscape that's both calming and energizing.
Okay.
Nature sounds like flowing water or birdsong
Okay.
can be very soothing.
I could definitely use some of that right now.
Right.
Like just, get rid of the dinging emails and notifications.
Yeah, exactly.
And just listen to like some peaceful nature sounds.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
Okay, what else?
And certain types of music can also be really beneficial for focus and productivity. Classical music, for example, is often used to enhance concentration.
But we probably want to avoid anything too, like jarring or distracting, right?
Right, exactly.
Like heavy metal or techno music.
Yeah, you want to find sounds that support the type of work you're doing.
Right, that makes sense.
Not distract from it.
Okay, so, listener, think about the soundscape of your workspace. Is it filled with the, like, hum of electronics, the chatter of colleagues, or, like, the constant ping of notifications?
Those can be real energy drainers. Yeah, they can. So maybe it's time to invest in some noise-canceling headphones. Or create a playlist of, like, calming nature sounds.
Absolutely.
Even small changes to your sonic environment can make a big difference.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, so we've been focusing a lot on how Feng Shui can impact, like, our personal energy and success, but can it also affect the energy of, like, a whole company or organization? Like, can good Feng Shui actually make a business more successful?
It absolutely can.
Okay, tell me more.
So Feng Shui principles can be applied to any space, really.
Okay.
Businesses, schools, even entire cities.
So if a company wants to, like, improve its financial performance or attract more customers, Feng Shui could be part of the solution.
Exactly. It's about optimizing the energy flow of the workspace to create a more harmonious and productive environment for the employees.
Right.
Which in turn can lead to, you know, greater success.
Yeah, I love that. It's like giving the whole company a Feng Shui makeover.
Exactly.
And are there companies that are actually doing this?
Yeah. Many businesses are already incorporating Feng Shui principles into their design and layout.
Interesting.
They're paying attention to things like the placement of the entrance, the flow of traffic through the space, and the location of like key departments, like finance and marketing.
So it's not just about like aesthetics. It's about creating a workspace that like supports the company's goals and well-being of its employees.
Exactly. It's a holistic approach
to
creating a thriving and prosperous environment.
I like that. And the source we're looking at, it even talks about how Feng Shui can be applied to like more intangible aspects of a business.
Oh, okay.
Like its logo, color scheme, messaging.
Interesting. So how does that work?
Yeah, I'm curious about that too. How does Feng Shui apply to like a logo?
So in Feng Shui, shapes and colors have specific meanings and energy associations. For example, a logo with sharp, angular shapes might convey a sense of like aggression or dynamism, which could be great for a company in like a fast-paced industry, but maybe not so great for a company that wants to project an image of like tranquility and trust.
So like a spa or a wellness center probably wouldn't want a logo with a bunch of sharp angles.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense.
They might opt for a logo with like softer curves, rounded shapes.
Right, more gentle.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, and then there's color. What about that?
So each color in Feng Shui is associated with a specific element and energy.
Okay.
For example, red is associated with the fire element, and it represents passion, energy, excitement.
Makes sense. Red's definitely an attention-grabbing color.
Yeah, it is, but too much red can be overwhelming. Or aggressive.
So it's about finding that balance again.
Exactly.
Okay, so choosing the right shapes and colors for your logo based on Feng Shui principles could actually like influence how people perceive your brand.
It can, yeah.
That's pretty powerful.
Yeah, it's all about creating a cohesive brand identity that's aligned with your goals and resonates with your target audience.
So it's like Feng Shui for your brand.
Exactly.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about how to create like a support in a prosperous environment using Feng Shui. But what about those things we can't control, like our neighbors or the surrounding neighborhood? Can those things affect our Feng Shui too?
Unfortunately, yes.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so Feng Shui acknowledges that the energy of our surroundings, including our neighbors and the neighborhood, can impact our own energy and well-being.
So even if I have like the perfect Feng Shui set up in my own home or office, I could still be affected by like negative energy from my surroundings.
It's possible, yeah. It's like being part of an energetic ecosystem.
Right. We're all connected.
Exactly.
Okay. So if I have like a noisy neighbor or like a business with bad Feng Shui next door, are there things I can do to like protect myself?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay. Tell me everything.
So there are several Feng Shui remedies that can help to neutralize that negative energy and create a more harmonious environment.
Like what? Give me some examples.
Okay, so one common remedy is to use mirrors strategically.
Okay.
Mirrors can be used to reflect negative energy away from your space.
So if I have a neighbor who's like constantly arguing or playing loud music, I could like place a mirror facing their house to deflect that energy.
That's one approach, but it's important to do so discreetly.
Okay.
And with the intention of like creating harmony,
right,
not reflecting negativity back at them.
Okay, so it's not about like waging a Feng Shui war with my neighbors.
No, not at all.
It's about like peaceful coexistence.
Exactly.
And creating a more positive flow of energy for everyone.
Yes, exactly.
What are some other remedies?
Plants are a great way to absorb negative energy and purify the air. So you could, for example, place a row of healthy plants along the shared wall.
Like a green barrier.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And certain crystals, like black tourmaline, are believed to have protective properties.
Okay.
And you can place those in areas where you're feeling, you know, vulnerable.
So if I'm feeling like stressed or drained by the energy of my surroundings, I could carry like a black tourmaline crystal with me for protection.
Yeah, that's one approach.
Okay.
And there are many other Feng Shui remedies and techniques that can be used to address, you know, specific challenges.
Okay, so it's all about like finding the right tools for the job.
Exactly.
This is all so empowering. I love that Feng Shui gives us like these tools to create a more harmonious and supportive environment, even in situations where we might feel like we have like limited control.
Absolutely. It's about understanding the principles and applying them creatively to find solutions that work for you.
This has been an incredible deep dive already. I feel like we've only just scratched the surface.
Yeah, there's always more to learn with Feng Shui.
But with that in mind, we're actually going to continue our exploration of Feng Shui and its connection to personal finance in the final part of this deep dive.
Yes, we're going to get even more personalized.
Even more personal.
If those tips and strategies.
Okay, I'm excited.
Based on your birth date and energy profile, listener, so stay tuned.
And we are back for the grand finale, the final part of our Feng Shui deep dive. I'm so ready to uncover that last layer of personalized advice for you, listener. We've explored Qi, the 5 elements, how to create a harmonious workspace. It's been a wild ride.
It has, yeah. We've covered so much ground.
We have, and I'm really intrigued by how this how Feng Shui can be so tailored to each individual. So what are some final nuggets of wisdom that the source offers for our listener, based on their unique energy profile?
Well, we talked earlier about the Mingra, right?
Yes, that personal energy map.
Exactly, and it's calculated from your birth date and gender.
Right, and it reveals those auspicious directions.
Exactly, the directions that can enhance different areas of your life.
Right, but we didn't have all the information to, calculate it precisely.
Right, we were missing that gender information.
Okay, so can we still, use those directions as a general guide?
We can, yeah. So we know that for metal dogs in general, the northwest, northwest, and southwest directions are typically considered favorable.
Okay, so what do those directions, what do they actually represent in Feng Shui?
So each direction is associated with, specific energies and elements.
Okay.
So, for example, north is associated with the water element,
right?
Which, as we discussed, can support metal energy and moderation.
Right.
And it represents, flow, wisdom, intuition.
Oh.
And this aligns really well, actually, with your INFJ personality.
Right. Known for being insightful and...
Exactly, and that deep thinking.
Deep thinking, yeah. So if our listener were to, arrange their workspace to face north, it could potentially boost, their creativity and problem-solving abilities.
It could, yeah. Definitely something to consider.
Okay, interesting. What about west?
So west is associated with the metal element itself.
Okay.
Which, can be both supportive and potentially overwhelming for you as a metal dog.
Right. Too much of a good thing.
Exactly. And it represents focus, efficiency, clear boundaries.
Which is very Capricorn.
Very Capricorn, yes. Very practical, disciplined, goal-oriented.
Right, so a west-facing workspace might amplify those qualities?
It could, yeah. It could help you stay organized, productive.
Okay.
But you might also need to be mindful of becoming too rigid or inflexible.
Right. Got to stay open to new ideas.
Exactly.
Okay, what about northwest?
So northwest is also associated with metal.
Okay.
But its energy is slightly different.
Okay.
It represents mentorship, leadership, and helpful people.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
So if your office faces northwest, you might find yourself attracting supportive colleagues or mentors who can guide you on your career path.
Exactly. It can attract that kind of supportive energy.
I like that. That's good. What about southwest?
So southwest is associated with the earth element.
Okay.
Which we know is incredibly supportive of metal.
Right. Earth and metal, good friends.
Good friends, yes.
Yeah.
And it represents grounding, stability, nurturing energy.
That sounds so, comforting and supportive.
It is, yeah. It's a very grounding energy.
Especially for someone like our listener who's, already naturally drawn to structure and stability.
Exactly.
So southwest-facing home or workspace could really help, create that sense of peace and security.
It could, yeah. It can be a wonderful foundation.
Right.
For overall well-being.
Now, of course, we can't always control the direction of our homes or offices. So how can we incorporate these directions into our lives if we can't, rearrange our whole house?
So if you're working from home, for example, you can try positioning your desk so that you're facing one of your favorable directions.
Okay, so just shifting things around a little bit.
Exactly, yeah. Or spend more time in areas of your home that align with those directions.
Okay.
So for example, if north is a good direction for you, maybe set up a reading nook in the north corner of your living room.
Okay, so it's about being, intentional with the spaces we inhabit.
Exactly.
And we can also, incorporate those directions symbolically, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Placing an object that represents the water element.
Yeah.
in the north area of my workspace.
Yes, exactly. Like a small fountain.
Okay.
Or a picture of a tranquil lake. Or even a blue vase filled with fresh flowers.
So it's like a subtle way to invite that energy into your space.
Exactly. It's all about intention.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about how Feng Shui can help us, like, attract wealth and abundance.
Yeah.
But what about, like, protecting what we already have? And any tips for safeguarding our finances from a Feng Shui perspective?
Yeah, so there's this concept in Feng Shui called locking in your wealth.
Okay, I like the sound of that. Tell me more.
It's about creating a sense of security and stability around your finances.
Okay, so how do we lock in that wealth?
So one way is to pay attention to the flow of energy in your home, especially around the main entrance.
Okay, the front door.
The front door, yes. It's considered the mouth of key.
Oh, interesting.
Where energy enters your space.
So it's like the entry point for all those opportunities and blessings.
Exactly.
Okay.
So if you have, like, a leaky faucet, a broken doorknob, or a drafty window near your front door, it's like you're creating little leaks in your energy.
Oh.
Allowing wealth to slip away.
Like having holes in your pockets.
Exactly.
I'll be checking my front door for leaks when I get home.
It's a good practice.
Yeah. All right. What else?
So then we can look at specific areas within your home. The southeast area is associated with wealth and abundance in Feng Shui.
Southeast. Okay.
So keep this area clean, clutter-free, and energized.
So no piles of laundry or unpaid bills. Cluttering up the southeast corner.
Exactly. Yeah. Keep that energy flowing.
Okay.
And you can enhance the energy of this area by adding elements that represent wealth and prosperity.
Okay. Like what?
So a healthy plant, a water fountain, or even just a picture of something that symbolizes abundance to you.
Okay, so like a visual reminder of your financial goals.
Exactly. And for you specifically as a metal dog, it's important to find a balance between your natural inclination towards structure and discipline.
Right. Metal dogs love a good budget.
Yes, they do.
Okay.
But sometimes it's good to loosen the reins a bit.
A little bit of flexibility.
Exactly. So create a budget that's realistic, but also allows for some fun and spontaneity.
Right. Don't forget to enjoy life.
Exactly. And another tip for metal dogs, be mindful of giving back. Generosity can actually enhance your financial flow.
So donating to a cause I care about.
Yeah.
Volunteering my time, or even just being, like, generous with compliments and kindness can actually attract more abundance into my life.
It can, yeah. It's about creating a cycle of giving and receiving.
I love that. This has been such an incredible deep dive. I feel like I've learned so much about Feng Shui and how to apply it to, like, my own life.
It's been a pleasure exploring these concepts with you.
Likewise. Likewise.
And remember, Feng Shui is a lifelong journey of discovery and self-improvement.
Right. So the key is to, like, find what resonates with you.
Exactly.
And use these principles to create a life that feels, like, aligned and harmonious.
I love that. Yeah. It's all about finding that balance.
Yes, it is. So, listener, we encourage you to continue exploring Feng Shui and, see how it can enhance your life from your workspace to your finances and everything in between.
Yeah. And remember, it's all about creating a positive flow of energy and aligning your actions with your intentions.
So with that in mind, we'll leave you to ponder the possibilities. Until next time, happy Feng Shuiing.